We're probably two very opposite peas in a pod, the way Tom and I run our business. Probably the major thing about how Tom and I run our business is we really haven't got a clue what we're doing. And that's not because, it's just because we haven't. We simply jumped into something that felt good, and we continue to jump into the next part, and next part, next part. And that's probably where this beautiful picture, which was taken a few days ago because we've just made this, we just jumped into this. This is where we are today. So as of last week, we've now got this beautiful coconut drinking milk, which we just thought would be delicious and interesting, but turns out it might challenge dairy, it might challenge the way we think about how we take care of our animals and our farms and the way we consume products day to day. And quite opposite to some of David's things that last forever, ours often only last for a day or maybe just for 10 minutes. They might enjoy a Feijoa ice block, read the back of the pack, learn some of the things we've learned ourselves about how to make them in a sustainable, ethical way, and then hopefully put that pack in the recycle bin. But if not, we have to figure that part out and carry on. So this is where we are today. That's certainly not where we started a while ago. This is where we started. Those are my thumbnails, and they look healthy. There's no marks in them, which I'm quite proud of still today. That's where Tom and I started. We started with some little molds, some little ice blocks. But what was quite important was that what we didn't realize was we were already making a highly ethical, sustainable product. Those 3 ice blocks there were using fair trade certified ingredients, organic ingredients. They were hand-stamped sticks. We made them in a little cafe in the back of Point Chev, rode our bikes up, did the whole bit. But they were already centering us and basing us in a product line that could go wherever we wanted as long as we kept to those values. And that's probably a big part of what we need to continue to remember, and we have it stuck on the wall, as you'll see, is that we don't have a set of ethics and a set of morals that our business abides by. We simply continue to use our own ethics and morals, and our business must abide by those. So it's quite easy to remember what we're doing every day because it's what I would do at home, in my car, or in my business. So whenever I'm dealing with a problem, I deal with it as I would, not as our brand would, or as our corporation would, or our company would. So that's where we started. But actually, where we started was something like this. We wanted to make something that people could eat. My belief is always that some of the simplest ways to get a message across is if it's quick, cheap, cheerful, and you take something away from it. So Tom and I were thinking, how are we going to make a product that can change some people's ideas about how they consume products? We ended up falling on ice blocks. We ended up falling on a little wooden cart and an opportunity to give some of those ice blocks away at an art exhibition. And that was about 6 years ago in November, 6 years ago. We knocked out these little ice blocks for a friend's art exhibition. I remember the night before, Tom and I both, as we've had many calls since like this, saying, maybe we're not quite ready. Maybe we should just call this one off and we'll do a thing next month. But Sakaya is her name, that artist from this exhibition. I'm glad she said, we really need you. Almost the same thing as this talk today. I said, maybe it might be too hard, but we really need you, we really love you to be there. That's what they said to us. We said, we'll put as much as we can into it. So stayed up all night, delivered about 300 of these little ice blocks. And what probably changed that day was people tasted these little chocolate guys here that were made with coconut cream instead of with dairy, which would have been the norm. But we had no option to use dairy. We needed to make it in a cafe for very little money. And it turned out the minute you involve dairy, there's a potential you may kill someone. When you make it with juice, you might give them a bit of gas. So we just went where the opportunity was, and it turned out it was a lucky break. But people love them. They said, this is something you should continue to do. And pretty quickly after, we got a lot of support to start doing it, but doing it on our terms, which is probably quite important. We've got investors in the audience, but on our terms. And that meant that our values, our personal values, could just transcend where the business might grow. So that's how we do things. My beautiful wife, she's 8.5 months pregnant there, and she said, please don't use this photo, but why not? Because she's a goddess, so there she is. And she's manning the cart, which is wonderful. That's what that cart turned into. I mean, for 2-3 years, it really didn't seem like much from the outside. We'd painted it, we put some proper ply walls on it. That was all fake, you saw the other day. Saw in the last slide, luckily Tom's from the film industry, so that was completely a facade. It kept falling off throughout the art exhibition, but it was hollow, had no freezer in it. We simply ran out the back behind the curtain and got some more ice blocks. And that's essentially what our business is based on. It's a facade, you just get it done, and as long as the consumer doesn't know, you just move on. So clearly, my lovely wife Bonnie wasn't selling ice blocks that day, but we got rid of the hairy rock and roll guy who was, and they said, you'd look much nicer because one day I'll need this photo. And he's, in England and we love him still, but he's not as cool as her. They worked. It's such a simple thing for people to try. I mean, they were trying our ice blocks and they were connecting with an idea that was challenging some of the biggest companies in New Zealand. It was challenging at the time Tip Top's idea of using non-natural and artificial colours. It was challenging the idea that you couldn't produce a product on a small scale that could be enjoyed alongside the big scale. To be honest, they were quite icy. They were a little bit unblended, but our consumers supported us because they believed in what we were doing. It was an honest story and it was our story. And we shared it all the way along. There were no hidden black spots between our growth or our change. It was always the same people involved and the message was the same. It's me and Tom. We've got a bit more help. This is our new family and we're growing. So clearly that worked. Tom and I got rich, and that's pretty much the end of our story. We certainly didn't get rich, but that is our factory, part of it. We used to be those two windows on the left there, or in the middle, sorry, in the center, and then we took on the left, and now the right, and now the right. And that's essentially what our business has been. As we've seen opportunities to grow, and we've had the right support, we've had a chance to grow. Because it's a really great part of our business is that we're something quite different in the market. We challenge New Zealand's national identity with dairy. We challenge the way products should be delivered to stores. We challenge the way they should be managed in supermarkets because, again, we just don't know. We haven't got a clue. So we walk into them like that. We don't have a clue. You can tell us how you should deal with us. And for some reason, they deal with us nicer than it sounds like they deal with some people who do have a clue. So we stay happily clueless. So we didn't make a lot of money that day. We got a flight in a helicopter. And everyone said, you're doing a great job. And we thought, well, this is going to be easy from there. But we had a few more challenges ahead of us. We had to do this. We had to make ice cream. This was what Chris and my wife were constantly saying, this is where we need to take this. Ice blocks are nice, but they're not all, we could do so much more. This meant a whole lot more. This is the way it looked at the end. We're not even going to go into how it looked at the start. There were stickers, there were tubs. I was going to show you a photo of how we launched it at Coromandel Gold at New Year's. And I noticed 15 logos for nice blocks and not a single logo for the ice cream. So it's such a poor example of how we tried to launch a product that I thought we can accept that we haven't got a clue. But we got to this point, which looks lovely. We're changing it again, but that's life. That clearly meant that we were now a coconut business. We were a business that was going to be dairy-free, which is great because I'm dairy-free, and it just meant that I could continue to eat more products and make more products that I could eat. But, we had to carry on. The milk became a big part. This is actually to support Pride Week in America. Tom and I grabbed a bottle of our chocolate milk with our spirit whale there in a bit of a rainbow and put that on the internet to say, we're here and we're queer and we don't care. We're not your standard chocolate milk. We're not what you're buying down the road. We don't have a limit of 2. Buy as many as you can. Buy it by the case. But we were making it fresh again out the back of the factory 2 times a week and trying to deliver glass bottles, which is a terrible idea. But we had to do that. If we didn't do that, we'd be sitting in meetings wondering how we're going to fund this beautiful bottle that we end up with here. And that's probably the biggest lesson we've learned in how to manage ourselves and how to get our message of sustainability out, is that you'll probably notice most of that, it's a bit like Fight Club, is that the first rule for us of sustainability is we don't talk about sustainability. Because probably, again, we really haven't got a clue. So we're going to make missteps. What we're going to do is we're going to follow our hearts and our values, which are here on the wall. Tom's little puku in the background. That was this morning. This is exactly what Tom and I started the business with. We didn't have it on paper. More support, more coaching got us to get these out on the wall so that all of our staff could see that this is what we'll always do. This is how we'll treat them. This is how we'll expand our business, and it'll be by these 5 values. Anyone who's taken a photo of this, you can totally use it because it's only going to make the world a better place. We apply these to every decision we make. But like I said, I apply these at home with my family, in my car, is that everything we do needs to meet these rules. We are an underdog consistently. And even when we're not an underdog anymore, I'll probably still walk in like an underdog because it seems like people like underdogs and I like being liked. So we do that. I mean, ethical is essentially, it doesn't make sense to be any other way to us. And I think that's nice because we scare away those people who are attracted to our business to turn it into something unethical. So they don't ring up, they don't pick up the phone, they don't turn up at the building. We only attract we attract great people because our message is simple. Generous wherever possible. With this water I haven't drunk yet, but it seems nice to hold, like like a spirit glass. We try and do that wherever possible. We've had stories along the way, we've had people we've involved in our business that we've supported and found opportunities for them. It just felt right. I'd do the same thing if that person was in my community or on my street, but they were in our social network. So we saw someone who needed a job, we gave them a job. It made complete sense. Moving on to things being uncomplicated, this is something that Tom and I have tackled consistently. That chocolate milk you saw could have been a highly complicated project, could have been taken months and months or more months and months than it did, and it could have not even been off the ground yet. But that simple glass bottle and uncomplicating the process and just trying to deliver it in a way we could be honest to our values, but say it's available next to nowhere, please go buy some, it'll help us get to the next step, worked. So please go buy some of that other one because it'll help us get to the next step. And uncompromising, which is probably where some of the other values can come unstuck if we didn't hold that value, is that we don't release a product if we're not completely happy with it. If we're going to compromise, then we're just going to wait. So it's not a question of what we've made, but it's what we haven't made, and there's reasons why we haven't made other products, because it would be a compromise on those values. And also on a palette that we want to challenge, which is that dairy-free and animal-free, plant-based is just for the other people, and normal people have dairy and have animal-based products. We don't see a difference there. It's simply a matter of where you get to that point where it's uncompromised flavour and offering and product. Don't even know what next. Hey, we can bounce through this with 3 minutes and 14 seconds. This is how we share our ideas. This has nothing to do with sustainability or our ethics, but this is how we share our ideas. Icebox fall on the floor, we take a photo of icebox falling on the floor. We share it as that. We don't show you us picking them up and repackaging them and getting the door. Because we didn't, because we don't need to. But clearly, we've got consumers who see this, and we have the comfort that we've shared our entire story with them. They don't think we're going to do anything else other than put those in our worm farm, which they don't mind it for a while, pick out the sticks and carry on. We can share our whole journey because they trust our values, and we're just honest to them. There's not a day they can catch us out because Tom and I are who we are. This is another big part of our story. This is my son. Now I also have a daughter. Tom has 2 daughters, God help us, which is he's a bit of a shotgun dad, so he's going to have an interesting couple of years when the dates start. But this is how we share our story too. They just turned up when the business turned up. Roman, my son, he's about the same age as the business, about 5.5, 6 years. So our business, our work-life balance is more like a life-work balance. I mean, we've had really great support from our investors and directors because they understood the way we were going to do business. It was going to be on the terms of our family and our friends and our community. We're not going to expand overnight and take on huge opportunities that don't meet those values, and uncompromising on family and our children is pretty important. And everyone likes a photo of a kid, so they go up quite often in our world. Point it this way. Our people, that's Rach. She was our first sales rep. This is what we do with those values. We don't compromise on how we support our staff. We pay their living wage. We didn't know we were paying it till they created it. Turned out we were. So again, I mean, when people ask us, when did you get on the living wage? I said, well, I think we got on it before it was called the living wage. We just never saw the ethics in paying someone who'd make our product that we were making less than we expected ourselves to be paid. And you know, it hurts. Not to me, but it hurts a spreadsheet that won't affect the way the business ends up. But we're always going to end up being a successful global brand. It's just a question of when we can buy that nice big boat that says Tom and James on it. It might be a few years later than we expected. But yeah, we share ourselves. We share everything we do. And, you know, shit happens. And, you know, we embrace that because it's consistently going to happen. And it's not a bad thing to look at when things go wrong. Especially, this is my daughter's lovely picture of unicorn. She's a bit of a unicorn fanatic. And that brings us back to here, which essentially embodies all of those ethics, those values, that story. And we still have not really touched on how we're sustainable or why we're sustainable. And when we gain power, we gain the ability to market ourselves more strongly, then we can start to communicate those ideas again. But when one of our financial guys asked me, you know, what's sustainable about business, and I just sort of said to him, well, I'm not sure what the carbon footprint of a liquidated company would be, but it's probably fairly strong, so fairly large. So the key for us is to be in business and stay in business, and then we can find those opportunities to explain our sustainability from there. That's us, that's me. Thank you.